Let me talk about the benefit reform that we're beginning to tackle. The issue is getting work properly incentivized. I've heard this from a lot of providers. You know, we can do all the work we like, but if people just work out that when they go into work, it doesn't pay them more than the benefits, you are tying one hand behind our back. And work must pay, and we're looking very aggressively now at transforming the system in order to make it pay at every level. So effectively what we're looking at is ways of creating longer withdrawal tapers so that it's always worth working. And so what I'm talking about here is the idea of a right to a set of benefits, and then they're removed proportionately as you earn money, but you always keep a good chunk, whether it's 40%, 45% of the extra money that you earn. You never get into this position which the current system puts people into, of having 95% withdrawn, and in some cases even more. Clearly, unless it is very, very simple to understand, as well as genuinely incentivizing, you will not be able to sell the message to people that work really always does pay. For that to work, for the benefit reforms to work, and I hope we'll be able to announce things reasonably shortly on this, they need to fit together with the welfare to work agenda. The idea of the work programme is to again simplify and make coherent a series of programmes that we've had, and to make sure that they're tailored specifically to the needs of individuals, rather than having a set of provision that may or may not be applicable, may or may not be useful for particular people. I won't dwell too long on the work programme, because I know that Chris Grayling has outlined it, but let me just let me touch on it. The first key element of it clearly is a payment by results system, and that does drive a series of big changes in the way that providers will operate. We can discuss those. The other thing that we are determined to lock into is what's called the black box approach, which means that the private, public and voluntary sectors who work in this area are given the freedom to provide their own strategies and pursue the goals, the goal being getting someone into work and sustaining them in work. And I think the implications of that are that we'll get far more personalisation than the existing systems have permitted. And also the transformation from the short, 3 years ago, getting someone into work for 13 weeks got you your payment. Now we're talking about long periods of sustained work as a goal, and that again implies a big change in the way that the industry needs to operate. So what does that all mean for the providers? And I can see many of them here today. The first and foremost is the need for upfront capital. There is, I'm afraid, when I wrote my report 3 years ago, I had a shrewd idea that getting money out of the Treasury for this kind of thing was going to be difficult to impossible. And that was at the tail end of a boom. And we didn't realise it was a tail end. It was, in practice, a tail end of a boom. Today, you can take that proposition and cube it. There will just be no money coming out of central government resources. We have to structure it with what's been called the Delaney switch to get the massive effort that's required. And the implication of that is that groups need to get adequate capital so that they can invest themselves in getting people out. We want it to be a pretty free-form process, the kind of people that come forward. We can have, I'm sure a lot of larger groups, well-capitalized groups will be coming forward into the framework, but we can be very flexible in terms of the type of consortia. I can very well envisage third sector groups coming together, pulling their capital together. I know that our sponsor CDG, which is a third sector company, is looking at its capital as an example, and I know other third sector companies are taking capital very seriously. So to the extent that third sector companies can do that, I really would encourage them to do so. And the department will be facilitating meetings between smaller and larger providers so that they can work together to form the consortium that's going to be required. Linked to this will be the launch of our supporting web portal and database where providers can learn about each other, identify potential consortium partners, learn what's required of them, and share best practice. We'll be introducing a new standards system to ensure that welfare partners are provided the support to customers that's expected, and we hope to launch this standard, the Merlin standard, later this year. I think you're all going to get the gift of a free DVD describing it either today or tomorrow. The most pressing matter is the work programme framework, which I know is obviously at the top of the agenda for many of you. And so let me re-emphasise what Chris Grayling said earlier today. As you know, the framework is a commercial arrangement providing a wide range of opportunities for external contractors, and one which will allow us to meet business needs quickly and efficiently. We've clearly contacted those providers which are affected by the framework arrangement, and the competition has now started. By the end of this year, we'll be inviting successful organisations to tender for the work programme contracts, and those providers which are accepted will be notified early next year in time for the rollout of their full programme, national programme, by next summer. So let me close by just pinning down our motivation for these reforms. Clearly, in the straitened circumstances in which this country is, saving money is important. But far more than that is at stake in what we're trying to do in the DWP. The simple fact is that for the vast majority of people, work is the best way for social and economic inclusion. The best way to enfranchise people, to empower them so that they can run their own affairs, bring them back from the margins of society. It's the best way to alleviate poverty, stand up to worklessness, and break down the ghettos of inactivity which dot the length and breadth of this country. And our plan to make work pay will ensure that.